Bringing you ideal content for your spiritual and relational work is our mandate. So, dear one, subscribe to this channel and like this message for us. You are a blessing having watched this.
Look at 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 14. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse number 14. Of these things put them in remembrance, charging them before the Lord, that they strive not about words to no profit, but to the subverting of the hearers. Next verse. Study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. The word study, there is a Greek word spoudazo. Be eager, be diligent to show yourself approved unto God, to demonstrate to men in the midst of false preachers. To demonstrate in the midst of false preachers. That's what Paul is telling Timothy here. You will show that you have been proven and tested of God. A workman. So you show it to others. You have to show it before false teachers. You are not showing off knowledge, but you are distinguishing yourself in the midst of this corruption. You see, these guys that like to blend. You know, they like to blend. They like to be hypocritical with the truth. I pity them. They like to be political with the truth. You know. They say, oh, Dr. Damina preaches, the truth. But the way he says it. Go and preach your own truth and say it the way you're supposed to say it. Leave me to say it the way I know it's supposed to be said. There can never be a nice way to say the truth. There can never be. Even if you say the truth, kneeling down and crying, it will still hurt a man that is in falsehood. It's like light and darkness. There's no nice way to turn the light on. There's no nice way. Anyhow you turn the light switch on, when it comes on, it will clear out darkness. That's the way it is. There's no decent way to preach this gospel other than to preach it the way it is. So all of you that are crying blood and crying whatever about the way I preach, I'm sorry. This face, look at it. You will live with it for a very long time. And you will hear this voice like this for a very long time. We're here for a long time, I'm telling you. So you better get ready. If you like, you better just clear your mind and make up your mind to just receive it the way it is. You can't like the message and hate the messenger. There's no way. You can't like the message and hate the messenger. You've got to receive the message along with the messenger. Otherwise, you will not receive anything. All right? Now, so a preacher must always preach with eternity in view. When I'm studying my Bible to preach and I'm praying and coming to service, I'm not thinking of my ratings on social media. I'm not looking for how you go say, oh, Dr. Damina is a nice guy. I'm not coming here to be a nice guy. I'm coming here to confront falsehood. I'm coming here to correct your mind. I'm coming here to engage your mind in spiritual warfare, to pull down mindsets and bring into alignment your mind with the truth of the gospel. I'm coming here to shine the light against darkness. I'm not coming here to be Mr. Nice Guy. I'm coming here not to please anybody but him who has called me to preach this gospel. So whenever I'm coming to the service, I'm not thinking of how to make you happy. I'm only saying, God, what will you have me say? What is that thing I'm going to say that will change your life? What is that thing I'm going to say that will straighten somebody out? What is that thing I'm going to say that will stop the devil in his cohorts? That's what I'm coming here to do, because I'm here to please Jesus. Because people's acceptance will come and go. The same people that cry Hosanna today will cry crucify him tomorrow. Check Jesus, check the apostles, check Brother Paul. Even in Asia, the whole of Asia abandoned Brother Paul. I don't preach for, crowd rating. It doesn't make sense. Is someone who has a poor memory and a weak conscience, or an unbridled conscience, that thinks that way. A preacher must always have eternity in view, that when I stand before Jesus to give account of my stewardship and this message that I have preached, will it stand the judgment? Will it stand the judgment seat of Christ? That's what should be in the back of a mind's preacher. So Paul is saying, show yourself that you are proven and that you are tested of God. Be that workman that need not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Look at verse 16 and 17 of 2 Timothy chapter 2. But shun profane and veiled babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Next verse. And their word will eat as though a canker, of whom is Hymenaeus. Paul is mentioning names. How nice can that be? He's calling people out. He's calling them by their names. Not even talking about he's calling them by their names. But of course, notice, he is calling names to another pastor. Okay? Of Hymenaeus and Philetus. Next verse. Who concerning the truth have erred, saying that the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some. Their message, that is their word, they eat like a canker. Their message. Then he mentions names. He's referring to their message. Look at verse 19. Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having this seal. The Lord knoweth those that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. Again, iniquity there has to do with the message. Iniquity is the Greek word adakia. It means what is not proper. Depart from what is not proper. Remember, he said they erred from the truth. The iniquity there is not immorality. The iniquity there is false doctrine. False doctrine. The one that names the name of Christ is the preacher. So he uses two words. Onomazo, that is to be called after Christ, and to call Christ in your sermons. Two words. To be called after Christ and to call Christ as the mainstay in your sermons. He says you must depart from this error. The error of departing from the truth. You must be consistent. So again, so far, Paul warned us about men, not a man. Men that preach false doctrine. Men that preach things that are contrary to what we have preached. People that preach things that oppose the gospel of Christ. The warnings of Paul were about men, not a particular man coming from somewhere. Please pay attention. Now, he didn't talk about somebody that has power. No, he talked about men that will oppose the gospel. Look at Titus chapter 1 verse 9. Another pastoral epistle in the Pauline theology. Titus 1:9. Holding fast the faithful word as he had been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers. Again, sound doctrine. Hugainu. Have you observed that most times Paul places those who preach legalism and those who preach materialism in the same WhatsApp group? Most times that's the way Paul, identifies them. If you like, for me as a person, if you like, preach grace, 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 and put on top of it finished work, finished work, finished work. If I spot that thing in your message, I will never listen to you again. There is that thing. If I spot that sly materialism, that sly way you bring in the transaction from the back door, I never listen to you again because your message is corrupted. And I don't want to be corrupt. Or you hear them talk about takeover. We are taking over commerce. We are taking over science. We are taking over entertainment. No apostle preached such a message. Even Jesus never preached such a message. It's not apostolic. It's not historic. It has no bearing in the church world. That is heresy. Because that is your opinion that contradicts the scriptures. Some people say heresy. They don't know what heresy. Heresy is an individual's opinion that has no scriptural bearing. That's heresy. An opinion. Okay? Or you will take over. No, you're not preaching the gospel. If I get into a political meeting tomorrow, maybe I want to run for a political party, and then I say I am taking over, it makes sense. Because in politics, it's about taking over. But not in the gospel of Christ. Not in the gospel of Christ. When it comes to the gospel of Christ, it's not about your opinion, it's not about your idea or your philosophy. It's a rock solid truth that cannot be turned to what people like or what people don't like. So in Titus chapter 1 verse 10, look at what brother Paul says to brother Titus. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, gainsayers. In verse 9 is the word antilego. Antilego. It means those who oppose what we are saying. Please pay attention. Titus chapter 1 verse 10 talks about vain talkers, those who speak empty things. Matialogos. Empty things. There's no Christ in what they are saying. It's empty. He says there are many. Then he says whose mouths must be stopped. Their mouth must be stopped. The word there is the word epistemizo. It means stop their speech. And you stop their speech by preaching the gospel very hard and very loud, which is what we're doing. We've got to get louder. We've got to get hard. Share the message. Drop it in every group. Drop it everywhere. That is preaching it hard. Give volume to this message. Let's get the word out there. That's how to shut the mouth of falsehood. That's how to silence deceivers. That's how to silence seducing spirits and the doctrines of devils. We preach the truth of the gospel very hard. Epistemizo. You will stop their speech. You know, over the last few years, I have become much more conscious of what I preach. Because a few years ago, I became much more scared of how the gospel has been wrestled from the apostles' doctrine. You know. And I said to myself, so many people saying so many things that are not true. So I made up my mind to distinguish myself. I made up my mind to distinguish myself. I'm not going to go with the crowd. If I'm going to be the only one standing alone, let me stand alone for the truth. Because Paul said I must do so. Peter said I must do so. And Jesus said I must distinguish myself. He said there will be empty talkers. And you will stop them by teaching. Not by attacking their persons. We don't attack persons, but we deal with issues. We expose falsehood and we put the truth before people in the midst of our teachings. Their job demands all. And it's sacred. The pulpit, oh yeah, it's sacred. That when I'm coming to the pulpit, sometimes I'm almost shaking. Because it's a privilege to stand on Christ's pulpit. It's a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege to stand on Christ's pulpit.
We promised you a power-packed content here and we surely delivered. So, please like and share this message for us. Also, hit that subscribe button below for more knowledge for your desktop.